Hello and welcome to Minor Rex. This is a Halloween-themed episode of Minor Rex. We're going to talk about some horror movies and TV shows and basically how they relate to each other and what the horror genre is like here in 2018 and 2019. So we're going to give a spoiler warning up front. The first half or so of the podcast is going to be spoiler-free. Everyone is welcome to listen to it. The second half, though, we're going to start talking about endings and spoilers and surprises. And so if you don't want to hear that stuff, we'll let you know, and you can turn it off, and you can go watch the show and come back and listen to it later if you like. All right? We also want to mention we have a monster movie marathon going on at the Des Plaines Public Library on the evening of October 30th. You're going to see some of the old monster movies all in a row. I think there's 3 of them going on that night, and that should be a lot of fun. But anyway, today we are talking about Hereditary and Us, both films from 2018 and 2019, and then the 3rd season of Stranger Things. I believe we talked about Stranger Things before. These are available at the library. Hereditary and Us are available for checkout, and I think season 1 of Stranger Things is here too. So let's start with Hereditary. Hereditary is a film. It came out last year, and it is a very suspenseful horror movie, I feel. Kind of shocking in its minimalism, I think. What do you guys think of that?
Yeah, I think that on the surface, you could be like looking over someone's shoulder watching this movie and think that it was just a drama, not a horror film. And that helps with the storytelling a lot in this movie. And as the title says, Hereditary, it's a family drama, and it's about the relationships between siblings and parents. And it can be, I guess, it's also a recent, it starts along the path of the recently deceased, grandmother, matriarch of the family. And she had a very secretive life, and that was part of the eulogy that was given. And that's kind of what kicks off a lot of the slow grind action of this film.
Yes, that's a good way to describe it. I'll tell the story of how I watched it. The first time I watched it, I was playing video games, and my wife was watching it on TV, and I could not stop staring at what's going on at the TV. I'm trying to focus on my game, and this movie is distracting me with how compelling it is. So then, the next day, I said, all right, well, now I have to watch this in its entirety because I think I missed too much. But as Tony says, it's a family-themed horror film, so there's a lot of discovery about this grandmother in her house, I believe, and what secrets she had and how they learn about her from other townspeople and her friends and her maybe not friends and things like that, people who were keeping an eye on her for their own reasons. And in the meantime, the horror aspect of the movie just seems to come out of nowhere every couple of minutes. Just all of a sudden there's something shocking happening and you don't quite know why.
I don't know if listeners have siblings, but this one toys, I think, with your emotions on a level that you can understand, just because I think there's a lot of psychological tension just in the room, in the car, in the classroom, any place that is a scene that has multiple family members in it, and the siblings are treated differently in the eyes of the parents, and so it's this not really competition, but it's almost like a fight. There's a fight going on under the surface, and that's really cool because it evolves over the course of this film very quickly. And like you said, there's these horrific and kind of ghastly, startling moments that, again, maybe you'll hear about in the second half of the episode. But there are parts of this film that, I don't know, they're memorable, they stick with you, but they're also essential to the plot just moving forward. So it's a really lean film in its presentation, and it's in what it accomplishes, I think, in the space of the film.
If we take all that and we put in Toni Collette stars in this, and she is just amazing. And a lot of the relationships come and add pressure onto her because it's her mother who has died, and it's her family that the movie is about. So it's a lot of this is radiating out from her in all directions, and she, of course, is no stranger to the genre. She's in The Sixth Sense, which was the first movie I had seen of her, and it was just kind of like a homecoming. Oh, good, she's back in a horror film.
I was going to say that I feel as a parent also, you were talking, Tony, about the dynamics between the siblings. I feel as a parent, this was a deeply unsettling film, and you were talking, Dave, about your experience watching this. My experience watching it was starting to watch it, then asking my husband to come down and just like sit next to me, and he'd do something else, but I just had to not be alone. And then I had to quit halfway through because I was so like, it was that scary on a psychodrama level, different even than The Sixth Sense, which has a lot of like, psychological creepiness and things like that. But this was also just the way it plays with mental illness and family dynamics and all the different type of like psychological underpinnings between parents and children, grandparents. It adds to this level of tension of before the actual horror parts come. It just creates this aura of dread and unease, especially from Millie Shapiro, who plays the 13-year-old girl. But at the beginning, you kind of don't know what age she is. I didn't really understand what age she was or what she was trying to be. So I found her like so creepy. She did a great job acting, the young actress. And I was going to quit. I stopped halfway through and I was going to have to be like, sorry guys, I read the Wikipedia article, but I couldn't watch the movie because I was so disturbed. But then the next day it was like 2 p.m. and it was really sunny. And I was like, okay, I can do this. I can power through.
That's the perfect time to watch them. Yep.
And maybe I don't know about that change, but I found like the first 2/3 much creepier than the last third, or much more disturbing and shocking.
There was a spike in creepiness in the, which we could perhaps talk about later. But I loved it. I loved that addition of in the last third. But I kind of agree. I thought that the middle third was just bizarre.
Yeah.
And the word I kept on thinking of was menace. I actually watched it on Canopy. It was available on Canopy. And I'm not able to do my tricks that I normally would do with a horror film to help relieve tension a little bit, like fast forward a little bit and turn on the subtitles so I can see what's going on, but it gets to the thing faster. But Canopy won't let you do that. And so I was at the mercy of the movie and how it wanted to pace it. And I just, that alone was just, it was like a vice.
So did none of us see this in theaters?
Right.
No, correct.
Yeah.
So that is interesting, especially with horror films, watching it from your own home where it could be daylight, you can be distracted moving back and forth, versus when you're in a movie theater, like you were saying, and you're stuck there and it's like all consuming.
Sure.
Versus like checking your phone every once in a while and stuff. So,
or pausing when you need a moment.
Or you could be watching it at home and looking over your shoulder at the treehouse that's in your backyard.
Exactly.
That may or may not have a red light.
So that's Hereditary. We're not done with it. We're going to keep talking about it, but we're going to move on because we're doing 3 things. And I want to move on to Us, which is also a film. Us came out this year. It came out in February in theaters, and it's now on Blu-ray and DVD at the library. Us is a movie by Jordan Peele, who previously did Get Out, which I think we covered, and because I loved that movie very much. Us is also a family horror movie. Otherwise, it's a different, I guess, approach, where at the beginning, the family goes on a vacation, they're at the beach or something like that, and one child encounters a doppelganger, someone who looks and acts like you. And it's in a hall of mirrors, so it seems kind of weird and awesome at the time. But then the family gets home, and the doppelgangers are there. There's one for each of them. So kind of similar in some ways in that it's a family possibly in danger, very obviously frightened at the beginning of the movie. But what did we think about Us, and how does it compare to Hereditary?
There were a lot more. It followed a similar structure to Get Out, where I believe we discussed that it heightened you up and then kind of released a tension valve and heightened up a tension valve. And it was a little bit easier of a watch in that regard. But
Then Hereditary?
Yeah,
I agree.
I agree too.
But there was just as much art in Hereditary. There were pans, and in Us, there's a, if you like rabbits, there's a really great pan in that movie. You were, again, at the mercy, but at the same time, I think I'm willing to buy into Jordan Peele's process a little bit. I mean, I noticed it when I was watching Us. I was like, okay, I get it. He's telling a story with this quiet pace. I feel like it's getting somewhere. Like sometimes how frustrated are you when it's not going and it's not. The speed of the movie matches your interest. I thought that was very successful. Just to get the story started, to kind of like let you soak into the story a little bit, and then it starts galloping.
Yeah.
I had similar thoughts where at the beginning, it's not like I was bored at the beginning, but my interest accelerated as the pace picked up. Whereas I had the opposite reaction with Hereditary, I think, where the back third, as I said, kind of like let me down. But this one, I was so into it by the end. This one, I did not have to turn off or watch. This one, it was, as a non-horror aficionado, I think this to me was the easiest entry, but easy doesn't mean it was simple or not complex or interesting or, horror. There were so many other aspects of it besides like the horror label, I think.
Yeah.
A lot of entry points.
For sure. And even though you mentioned the thing about pacing and kind of like the setup was a little slower, I do want to like note the difference between Hereditary and this, and that Us was a little bit more classically structured horror film where like the family's doing good, they're on vacation, maybe there's a little fight about like whether they're going to go to the beach or what's going on. And the tension when it starts, yes, it kind of creeps up and goes up and then down again, like it's common in so many, I think, horror films. But I think that Us has a lot of jump scare. It has a lot of like violence and a lot of blood. And there's like, it is definitely a horror movie for people that love horror movies. Just has that extra layer of good, like...
Right. There's there's a great scene of when you're watching a horror movie and you see car keys on the counter. There's not just car keys on a counter. You know that there's car keys on a counter and something, it's just...
Like a Chekhov's
it's
gun
like
kind
kinetic
of thing.
energy building up.
Yeah.
And that's an example of, I think, what... we're talking about.
I felt very differently between these two movies. Hereditary, like I wanted it to end
Yes.
because it was so strong. I'm like, I want this to be over. When is the ending? This needs to stop. I can't handle this anymore. Whereas Us was like, I wanted the story to resolve in a way that was satisfying. I could wait if I had to wait, or if, I wanted to know, what is the story here? What is it about? What is happening and why? Whereas Hereditary is like, I don't care. This is too much. This is too much for me.
Yes.
So, effective in different ways, right? Totally different experiences for me. Even though, like I say at the beginning, it was kind of like both is two families in danger, two families with strange things going on and they don't know why. But the pacing and the writing and the plotting and all that stuff, for me, felt totally different between these two still seemingly very similar horror movies.
It's also interesting you're saying that they're both family horror, not family friendly for watchers, but family horror stories. But how the horror elements in Hereditary are what fracture the family. They pull each other apart. They like the trauma escalates because of the horror that they're experiencing. Whereas in Us, for the most part, it brings them together.
Sure. Yeah.
They are united against the horror aspects outside, the doppelgangers. It is the family versus the others, whereas in Hereditary, it's us against ourselves, basically.
So that feels new to me. Families as the core protagonists in these horror movies. Like we had A Quiet Place, a couple years ago, where it was usually like, a group of teens go to a cabin in the woods, right? And then that kind of got played out. And so now it's, parents and children and grandmothers perhaps that plan those relationships, as Tony was talking about at the beginning of the podcast. It's kind of more interesting to see parents and children and siblings and couples kind of pull at each other or push at each other, as opposed to just like, well, I'm the sports guy, so I'm not afraid. It's like, what? Why? Okay, great. Like instead of those old stereotypes, those old tropes.
And it adds a layer of relatability for the audience, too, I think. I think both of these films were very widely watched by people who may not necessarily be into horror specifically as a genre, but they're, critically acclaimed and had a wide audience. I think that aspect was one of the reasons why that there are these pieces that, you connect to those dynamics, you connect to those relationships.
And finally, we want to hit on Stranger Things Season 3. Stranger Things, as I say, we talked about in an older episode of the podcast. We've got Season 1 available here on DVD at the library. Otherwise, Season 3 is available on Netflix. Stranger Things is a little bit different. It is the third season of a TV show. So these are characters that are mostly established and familiar to us, as opposed to Us in Hereditary. It's a group of young friends, again. So as I was just espousing a moment ago, like here we've got, some kids who are in over their head. But Stranger Things Season 3 came out this summer. And how do we compare and contrast Stranger Things to the other two movies that we were just talking about?
I think one of my frustrations with Stranger Things 3 was that it didn't have those family elements that we saw in Stranger Things season 1 or 2, specifically season 1.
Right.
And then season 3, Joyce is just like, doesn't really know where her kids are, is afraid, but not in the same sense that she cares about Will in the first one, where it's all consuming.
Yeah.
And even like the sibling pairings and stuff, they're all separate. Everyone was kind of like in a peer group.
Yeah.
And we didn't have those familial bonds. And that kind of made me think, like, why aren't these people more afraid for the other people in their lives?
Yeah, it's turned from something that was cinematic into that almost like serialized television. And we know it's serialized, so everyone's going to end up together at the end. But right now, they're just they're like the Goonies or whatever group
Sure.
they are.
Yeah.
And they trust in each other's ability to do their jobs, but they don't necessarily know. I mean, it is copying, it's mirroring the recipe and the kind of like a thing that people like about Stranger Things 1 and 2. I guess as a season out of all the Stranger Things, I really did like this one. But I also know that it is just Stranger Things. I don't know that it's changing or evolving. So
I like the evolving characters. The characters have grown over a couple of years in this town and through their experiences. I like that very much. And I thought 1 and 2 were a little too similar, and 3 was a little bit different, and I liked that a little bit. But yeah, otherwise it was just like, that was a lot of fun. It was another season of Stranger Things.
Yeah, except it was turned up to 11.
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm happy you said that because I looked up that reference and it's, of course, from 84. So the nostalgia was turned up to 11 as well.
Yeah.
Because it all,
absolutely.
like taking place in a mall, and it seemed like they just found ways to make this evoke all of the childhood movies that you'd ever seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt that, it was turned up to 11, but I liked the fact that it wasn't all up to 11.
Oh, I get that. That works on 2 levels. My goodness. Good work, Joel.
It was different than the first 2 seasons in that regard. And it was kind of funny because there were points where the characters and the viewers like, okay, what's going to happen? Okay, this is it. And then it didn't happen that way. I enjoyed the struggle that Nancy had at her workplace. It's very broadly stroked situation, but it really showed like her experience with that. And also there was that moment where she and her mother have some stronger exploration of that relationship in that part of the series too. But it was almost like a creature feature. It turned more into, not that it wasn't before, but it just felt like the reveal.
Yeah. I'm kind of working on, like, Stranger Things 1 was weird and special and different. And then Stranger Things 2 and 3 are not. They're just more Stranger Things. Whereas if you
Not so Stranger Things.
if you want Stranger Things 1 again, you're not going to get it from seasons 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or however many they do. You're going to have to go somewhere else and something new to get that experience. Because I miss that Stranger Things 1 experience.
Yes.
Watching Stranger Things 3.
There's almost like a Pan's Labyrinth type of feel to the bizarreness of that first season.
Yeah, I can still, even though I haven't rewatched any of the seasons, I can still remember very vividly what happened in season 1. And season 2, I had no idea what happened when I watched season 3. And season 3 is already fading from my memory now, even though it was just this summer. So I'm not sure if that's because, like you were saying, it just was this new great thing, and that's why it embedded itself in my memory. But I feel like the plot arc and the character arc melded in season 1 in a way that didn't as well for me in season 3. There were, like you said, Dave, characters that I really liked what they did with Steve Harrington over the 3 seasons. I thought that was a really interesting evolution. And then the Russian scientist that they kidnap in this one, I really enjoyed as a character.
Yeah, so I'm not saying it's bad, but it's not. 2 and 3 is not the same experience as watching 1.
Definitely not.
It is still fun and interesting and good, but it's not novel anymore.
So are there any sci-fi horror series that you feel like are novel in their post-first season?
The Terror. My wife has been watching The Terror. Anyone seen that?
Is that the one in the Japanese incarceration camp this year?
The second season, yeah. The first season, I think it's a British naval ship. Gets caught in the ice in the Arctic, and there's strange things afoot. So they're stuck up there and they can't get out, and something evil has taken an interest in them. Currently, we're watching the second season, which is about Japanese internment camps during World War II, and there is something evil there that is preying upon the people who are stuck there.
So that has no connection to the novel, the second season?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a totally different setting. Like American Horror Story, where it's like a different idea every year.
Okay.
but it's still kind of the same, like, we're trapped here, we can't leave, and something is eating us kind of situation.
So I wonder if there's any that had the same characters in the same place in horror that still seems to be, like, unique later on.
Yeah, I have no idea, unfortunately.
It's like the sequel paradox.
Yeah.
You know, if you watch a sequel of a movie and you're so excited because the first one's great, and the sequel rarely lives up to the first one. Empire Strikes Back excluded.
There's like a list of 5 where the sequel is better.
And, you know, like, there's...
Temple of Doom definitely included.
Yeah. Last time we recorded it, like, Sam Raimi came up, and, like, Evil Dead 1 and 2 are like night and day. They're totally different.
Yeah.
And then 3 is also really different and weird. But it builds off of 2. And now there's, like, a TV show, so it went the other direction.
There's as much ash as you could possibly want these days.
Yeah. But when it was just a couple movies or 3 movies, it was very exciting. And now that there's a lot of it, I'm not as excited about necessarily tuning into it.
I'm interested to see, like, where Stranger Things will go for the next season. They left it very open-ended at the end. Yeah. And then I was like, are they trying to continue to keep going? Like, how many different similar arcs can they have? I like when TV shows have, like, a set number of seasons and they make the story to be in that 3-season or whatever arc.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I feel like they're just trying to, like, rein in that money and then that the story loses.
Like, literally Lost, not figuratively. Like, Lost was like, we're making too much money. We have to make twice as many episodes. Figure out a way to stretch the story.
Or like The Hobbit being 3 movies.
Yeah.
Well, I have a lot more opinions about The Hobbit. But nonetheless, I think we want to talk about some endings to these shows. So we're going to talk about the endings of the movies and the last episodes and how they made us feel because, you know, they're horror movies and the endings have strong emotions or revelations usually. So if you want to be spoiler free, if you want to watch any of these without hearing the endings, you may have to pause us right now and go watch Hereditary and come back maybe later today or on a different date and listen to what we think about the endings. But this is an official spoiler warning for us, Hereditary, in season 3 of Stranger Things.
I was very disappointed by the ending of Hereditary because I thought it brought up so many interesting questions about, you know, the lineage of mental illness and female hysteria and, you know, psychosis and all these different family dynamics. And then it just ended up being this, like, very, what I felt was like a cult
Witchcraft
idea.
And a cult
And they didn't, maybe if they talked about that demon more and, you know, we got a greater understanding, then he just wants to have a male host body and it was in the sister all the time before. But it just wrapped up without us understanding the why behind it. And I think what makes horror for me in a sense is like this sense of the inexplicable. And they made it like very explicable at the end. They gave very specific, concrete answers that were kind of, to me, disconnected than the whole thrust behind the rest of the movie.
Sure.
Unlike in Us, where I felt like the ending revealed a lot, but also left things open to interpretation and made me like think a lot about the social commentary and things like that. And it opened up where I felt like Hereditary kind of closed down. So I felt like my enjoyment of both movies kind of reversed.
Yes.
Where Hereditary, I was like, wah, wah, at the end. And Us, I was like, I will watch that again and, you know.
And talk about it with people.
And talk about it. And I read so many articles, you know, so.
Yeah, the ending of Hereditary was, I think, just like, oh, that's it? Okay, we're done. And then I'm kind of like, that was a great experience that I don't need to have ever again. That's how I felt about Hereditary. Us was put in front of me, and I was told, you will watch this and talk about it with me. And that's how I got to experience Us. I'm like, oh, okay, this has legs. This, you know, people are like, it's been a week. I'm still thinking about Us. Like, that's an experience I love, is when a movie won't let you alone and you think about it and you realize more things and you wonder about things and you imagine scenes that weren't even in the movie because you feel like they should be there. Like, that is my preferred experience. I think Hereditary was gorgeous and well acted. And I think Us was as well. But, like, Us is the one that doesn't let you go. That sticks with you.
By the end of Hereditary, I was much more animated and excited about the not just survival, but the level that everyone was doomed. Like, I don't usually like talk at the screen, but it had me nervous and talking at the screen.
Good. I love that.
Yeah.
So, but I was watching that one alone, and so like watching Us with someone, it was more like, okay, this is a confrontation. There's going to be some reveal. Do I know what's going to happen? And my mind was, you know, working the whole time, still trying to figure it out. I think with Hereditary, it's like, how many levels of doomed are they? They're not. There's no way for that. And I think to me, the mystery that kind of lingered with me there is just like maybe there's like the haunting part of it is just that there is mental illness that exists and that there are like these terrible things you hear about in the news where, you know, families hurt each other. And it's like, this is an instance of that happening, but like, and then there's this mystical take on it.
Sure.
The stark reality of Hereditary is, I guess, what kind of shook me and just like had me uncomfortable. But then also there's a lot more jump towards the end of it. It's a lot more like they do slow camera pans with stuff in the background and just like really good, really well designed.
With unexpected audio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the audio was sensational.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't often notice audio, but like I was thinking halfway through this movie, like, did this win an Oscar? Should it win? Is it going to win an Oscar? It must. It has to, because there's some quote where like movies 60% audio, 40% visual, something like that, and it's supposed to surprise you. But this time it doesn't surprise me. This time is very much the experience is the sounds and the lack of sounds,
the clicking.
Yeah. This was the only horror movie where I thought that the seance, like, hey, we're going to do some kind of like a seance thing, or a seance was mentioned, and like I felt completely compassionate towards the people that wanted to do the seance because it was like it brought us on that journey with them.
Yes.
They wanted to just talk to their lost ones, and usually it's okay, you're going to summon ghosts. This is a terrible idea because this is a horror movie. You don't do that.
No, don't pull out a Ouija board in the first act. It's going to end poorly for you, right?
And Toni Collette is so good in those scenes. She's
Yeah.
amazing. And the way that the family interacts with each other, like the father trying to be protective of his son, the son getting really scared of the mother, like that was enthralling to me. I also watched that just being like my eyes covered the whole time.
Yeah, I'm one to pause it and go for a little walk. Sometimes just walk around my kitchen and come back for
I think I did that
a couple minutes.
So Stranger Things was, the last episode was kind of like there was a lot of good explosions, boss fight type of things, a lot of, I think that the payoff was actually pretty good, like getting Hopper and there's just big confrontations and things like that. I actually, because of the ending was really strong, I'm like, I liked this season. And I think I liked the season because it was a lot of fun along the way too, but I think it made me like the season more just because it was like a big ending. But I'm trying to remember if Stranger Things is 8 or 10. I think it's only 8 episodes, yeah.
I think it's only 8.
And so, I don't know, I think, it's definitely apples to oranges when you're talking about Stranger Things to us, but I think us, stuck with you, but Stranger Things is definitely not the type where you're like, what's going to, I mean, you'll talk maybe at work, water cooler talk about, well, this might happen next season, but then that's it. You're kind of done.
It's more of like it's more of like Game of Thrones
Speculation.
discussion rather than
like existential. What does this mean about our society?
Right. Stranger Things, I felt, was less than in so many different ways. Hopper's character, I felt, took a huge step backwards. And I saw a headline somewhere and it said, like, what's wrong with, like, they're ruining Hopper. And I was like, agreed. I couldn't have said it better. And then at the end, this whole thing, the very climax, and everything happens, and then they escape right out the back door that was right behind where Harper was that he couldn't get out of. And then there's a door right there. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And then, of course, the extra scene, who is it? I had guesses or expectations, and I also had feelings of don't care.
Yeah, that's how I felt. I was like,
if
he's actually dead, meh.
Number 4 will let us know,
Yeah.
and I might watch it since it's it's there, but
It's still Stranger Things. It's still pretty good, right? But yeah.
His and Joyce's relationship dynamic got so hackneyed at like different points, and just like the lines. I was like, oh, the script of the relationship between them was not into it.
Who was Sean Astin's character?
Oh, Bob. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I missed him a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially in that dynamic.
Yeah.
I'm like, just bring back Bob.
Yeah, like his death I was very sad at.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Us knowing that he directed Get Out, I started watching. I'm like collecting when I'm watching the film. I'm collecting, okay, what does this mean? Okay, these commercials are awesome.
Right.
I like the setup. It's such a great way of showing both the character reflected in the TV screen as well as getting a sense of the time. And, these commercials might be important. And then, of course, they are. But I also feel that he left a lot of, or the people who made this movie, it's not just Jordan Peele.
No,
like
sure.
A lot of people who made this
Absolutely.
movie. And in a very interesting way, right? Because they have the same character playing both sides.
Yeah.
And
You
they had to
forget that
do the
somehow.
same scene
Yeah.
flip-flopped. And
You forget that somehow.
Yeah.
I was watching the extras on the, please watch the extras on the DVD or, you know, whatever disc you watch, because it's really compelling of how do you make movies nowadays. And it was kind of going back old school, kind of. But he left a lot of breadcrumbs throughout the film so that when the reveal came, I wasn't surprised. I'm like, yeah, I saw that one coming.
Yeah,
like
okay.
I had that feeling,
Yeah.
but it was more of a satisfied feeling rather than a whatever kind of feeling.
Okay, good.
Did you feel like the enjoyment of the movie like hinged on that reveal? Like that?
No.
Okay. So then,
No.
yeah.
The enjoyment of the movie hinged on, there's that one line when the two families first meet each other and she says, "Who are you?" And she's like, "We are Americans." And she dropped that chain. I'm like, that's the movie right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. Then everything else after that was pure enjoyment. That to me was the apex of the meaning of that film.
The staging at the end, I really love too. Like when you have like the dancing scenes and the ballerina, and you kind of see how the doppelgangers echo the movements of the people above. And when we have this kind of more exposition sequence about their pasts, and we just see these like cuts of Adelaide dancing, that I just loved how that was filmed. Yeah.
And I loved the mishmash, right? The jumpsuits from Mike Myers, the gloves from Freddy Krueger, minus the, you have the boat in the water, and you have the person, you know, swearing off boats. I'm done with them. And
His mask.
yeah. And I loved it because you felt that the horror genre in and of itself was taken down delicately and treated very reverently, and like, but not too reverent. It wasn't awe.
Yeah.
But it was it's enjoyment plus a vehicle, which he's great at. They are great at doing.
How do you feel like horror is defined? Like, would you consider Stranger Things as being horror? Like, it has, in my mind, it was always like sci-fi. Like, this is like a sci-fi show. Like, what elements of it do you feel like are horror-ish?
I think Stranger Things is horror. It's also sci-fi, of course, but Stranger Things has a big mystery that you're trying to wonder what happened. I'm thinking about season 1 now, though. I'm not thinking about season 3. Although season 3 could also be like, you know, the mystery of, you know, where the signal's coming from. But season 1 especially is like, what is this thing? What happened to this person? What's going on in this facility? That is horror. These questions are more horror focused. Science fiction, as a science fiction aficionado, I feel that science fiction is a lot about one big idea and how it has all these little effects on all the characters and their society. And I think horror, especially Stranger Things, is less about that, and it's more about these characters interacting with each other. Like a microcosm, maybe. Like, how do these 4 people survive in this pressure cooker is a horror movie, whereas sci-fi is like, what if we spin the world the other way? What would happen to all the people?
So you would define Cube
As horror.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's like a good definition of horror right there, is these 4 people are in a weird place and they don't know what to do.
Right. Some people might take that weird place and put that in the science fiction realm, but that's a really great way to delineate those two genres.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it. I don't know, other people in the building may have other opinions about what's one and what's the other, but Hereditary and Us both feel very intelligent, like put together in a good way that is meant to elicit all the right feelings at all the right times. They're well executed. Like the writers and directors and creators all had this, like, we want to make you feel this way, or we want you to think these things. And they did it. They did a great job of doing that. And I think that's...
And they trusted the audience with that,
Yes.
too.
Yeah.
They didn't say, you didn't understand that, here's some more. I feel like Stranger Things kind of does that a little bit.
Also, budgets. Hereditary was $10 million. Us was $20 million. And Hereditary made $80 million, and Us made $255 million.
Wow.
So, like, $10 million is about the cheapest you can make a Hollywood movie. the fact that it had this strong effect on us, that it made so much money, is good for everyone, right? It's good for the investors who invested that $10 million. It's good for us because we got to have that experience. Good for the creators because they got to tell their story. And I'm thrilled by this.
It seemed like the actors and actresses had a lot of fun making that film, too, from watching the extras. Of course, if they didn't, they might not have made the extras.
So having a bad day, you don't put that in on the highlight reel.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to watch those extras because, like, the intensity of acting when you don't have another person there because it's you and you have to keep up that level of, like, you know, of emotion.
Yes.
And you don't have someone to, like, play off of because it's going to be you in another shot. That's amazing that they can do that.
I mean, they did have stand-ins. There was an interesting point where the stand-in was showing Lupita Nyong'o helping the stand-in rehearse her actions that she does.
Oh, sure.
And then so that all they had to do is just fix the face. And
Yeah, because I'm thinking like the Avengers movies have a lot of CG, but, you know, Josh Brolin's there. He's in the room, right? He's saying his lines. He's looking you in the eye. Whereas with us, it's very different. It's someone else looking you in the eye, but you got to pretend it's you. And
it's a tough job.
yeah,
I mean, we think it's all about like houses on Malibu and
walking
Malibu.
the red carpet and all that.
Right,
But,
you know.
no, these people do a thing that maybe no one else could do, right? It's amazing to watch. It's amazing that it's so easily accessible sometimes that you can just, you know, watch it on Netflix or get it from the library and watch this amazing person do an amazing job. All right, well, I think that's it for our Halloween-themed podcast. Thank you so much for listening. As we said, Hereditary and Us are available at the library. Stranger Things Season 1 is available as well. We've got that Monster Movie Marathon on October 30th, so come on and check that out. And that's Minor Rex. We'll see you next time.